Once you've answered one or two general questions, then the interviewer will switch to more specific questions. These specific questions will then continue through the rest of the interview. So it's important for you to be able to answer specific questions very well. These specific questions will come from three sources. First, something you said earlier when you answered the broad brush question. Second, it could be something you put on your resume. Or third, it's something very specific that the interviewer is trying to find out about, and so the interviewer will ask you about it. This is the way the interviewer zeroes in on what your skills are, what your accomplishments are, and whether or not you're a good candidate for the job. You can be asked almost any question that is specific as long as it's job-related. If you're working on 12-cylinder engines, if that's going to be the job, you could be asked, tell me very specifically about what you've done in working with 12-cylinder engines. You could be asked, what do you know about strategic planning and how would you put together a strategic plan? You could be asked, why did you say you didn't like your last boss? Or, this job is going to require a lot of out-of-state travel. How much time are you willing to travel out of state, and how much would be too much? You see, these are very specific questions, and you're going to have to be prepared to answer them with specific answers if you want to get the job. There are 6 keys to answering questions very specifically. So let's review what those 6 secrets are now to answering these questions really well. First, listen very carefully to each question. Second, take a few seconds to think instead of just jumping into the answer. Third, most specific questions should be answered in 30 seconds to under 2 minutes. Fourth, don't think that any question is an attack on you personally or a challenge to your credentials, but as an opportunity to show the interviewer that you are the right person for the job. Fifth, be as specific as you can with your answer. And sixth, tie your answers, directly or indirectly, to the job for which you are interviewing, rather than just talking about your past experiences and accomplishments. Audio tape number 5, both sides A and B, give you good examples of how to handle specific questions very powerfully. Also, the next 7 examples that you'll see on this videotape show you different specific questions that you're going to be asked and how to answer them. The first of these is going to be a candidate who answers a specific question using all 6 of the secrets I just mentioned. So watch and listen as the candidate uses all 6 of these secrets.
You mentioned that during your last 2 years in graduate school, you worked during the summers as a sales representative for the Allied Products Company, and that they were very pleased with your performance. Then I'm curious to know why you're pursuing a similar job with our company instead of being hired by Allied Products.
Actually, about 3 months ago, the Allied Company did offer me a job, and I was going to take that job after graduating from college. But a couple of weeks ago, Mr. Robinson, the Vice President of Sales of the Allied Company, called me into his office and explained to me that their company was experiencing some difficulties with an unfriendly takeover, and they'd put a freeze on the hiring of all new employees. Well, that put me in kind of a bind, but he told me that he would be glad to be a reference for me in trying to help me find a new job. Well, the job there closely matches the job here, and the skills and background that I possess would greatly help me in this company. That's why I'm interested in this job.
This was an excellent example of the candidate using all 6 secrets very effectively in answering a specific question, and he did it in less than a minute, which is also excellent. By way of contrast, the next example that you're going to see is a candidate for an accountant's position where she doesn't use the 6 secrets effectively. She does 3 things more than anything else that really are not good. First, she does not mention specific information, and as she talks, it sounds as if she's even trying to avoid the question, or maybe she has something to hide. The second thing she does, which is not effective, is she doesn't tie her past accomplishments into the present job for which she's interviewing. And third, she uses too much we and us rather than I, meaning we did this and we did that, rather than I did this. And that's not effective either. Let's watch this second example now.
You mentioned earlier that one of the areas of accounting where you've worked is with allocation of administrative overhead. Would you please give me an example of what you've done in that area?
Our department is responsible for posting all of the company's costs into the general accounting ledgers. We have set up cost controls within our department to control overhead, and it's my responsibility to give a summary monthly report to my boss outlining this information.
This candidate should have mentioned the allocation of costs between departments. She should have also mentioned how costs were calculated within her department. Also, what was in that monthly report? And what about her accomplishments? She didn't mention those at all. Without those kinds of specific details in the answer, a specific question answered in that way does not come across well at all. As you see, using those 6 secrets that I mentioned earlier really are a key to answering specific questions appropriately. We've mentioned other information about how to do this, both in the workbook and on the audio tapes, and I suggest you review that. This now concludes the second part of this video. May I suggest that you now go back to the workbook and to the audio tape 5A. You can do that now, please.